Yeah. Okay, I did.
Perfect. Perfect. Okay, are we expecting anyone else from your side, guys?
Let me check. Mm,
1 2 1 2. Hey
Yeah,
everyone.
hear you. Hello.
Hello.
Where is our operators?
Arsenij,
We'll connect in few minutes.
yeah,
Okay.
Evgeny here.
Okay, I think let's start.
Okay, give us a second and we are going to share the screen.
Okay, can you see the screen now?
Yeah.
All right. So, hello everyone. My name is Diakona Maria. With some of you, we have already been in touch through our trainings. Today, we're going to see the connection between supply and technical application. Supply and accounting application. I have already prepared the test case for you.
I'm sorry, can you give access for entering?
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. To continue, this is a test case that I have created for you. Before moving on, I want to show you that in the supplies application, in application properties, there is a tab regarding the accounting. Okay. From here, I want to mention that in the second from the last options, there is the item budget allocation option, which is referring to the ledger cards and how you want to allocate the cost of each item based on the orders or in the invoice. So here, as you can see, I have activated the item budget allocation to be available in the order and in the invoice level. However, you can change that if you wish. You can have it either on the order or invoice according to your preference. We're going to see the steps on some minutes, in some minutes. So from here, we have activated this option. And before going to see the item budget allocation from the order level, which is here, I want to show you where we allocate the ledger card based on the items, on specific items. So in the supplies module, under the administrator, there is the menu item ledgers. So here, as you can see on the left, there is a column regarding the departments. When we select one department, on the main screen, the list of the catalogs we have and the subgroups appears. So, for example, in the department provisions, we have the catalog, test catalog, which we have created, and then we have the undefined catalog, which is automatically created in the system, and this refers to all undefined items. And of course, we have the option all in the case that we want all items that are ordered through the Department of Provisions to be put into the same ledger card. So if I go here, for example, for the test catalog, we have the option all. So all subgroups from the test catalog, I want to be placed under the ledger card named test cable stores, for example, or test account accrual. These names are the names of the ledger cards that have been set up from the accounting department. So basically, we select one ledger. Here is the ledger card code. And this is it regarding this option. If I press save, this specific ledger card is saved for all these items. Now, if I go and make a requisition about provisions and reach the level of the order, if I go to item budget allocation, like in this case, I right click and go to item budget allocation, I am able, as a user, to change the ledger card in which each item is inserted to. In this specific case, we are not able to do so because we have an invoice for this specific order. But if I go to the order that doesn't have an invoice yet and press right click item budget allocation, let me allow one more user to enter the room. Sorry. So if I go for this order that doesn't have an invoice yet, you can see that I can change the ledger card on a specific item that I want for this specific order to go to another ledger card than the one that we have already set up. Is this clear?
Sorry, can you hear me?
Yes.
I have one request. Can you please describe us why we do need to use, for example, this one, for which purposes? Because right now the main problems, we don't understand how everything connects to each other.
You mean the
Why, for example, we need catalogs? Why, for example, we need this one, and etc., etc. Or maybe we can start from a clear example, and we will create everything from scratch.
So
because right now, I really don't understand why we need catalog, for example.
The catalogs are the list, are the books from where we order items, from which we select items. For example, the impact catalog. If we want each item of a specific catalog to be placed under a specific ledger card in the accounting department, then we're going to use the item ledgers menu to do that. Is this clear?
Okay, but for example, we have new invoice. We don't have any items in catalog. We should create these items in catalog before we will issue invoice, or we will add invoice to Danaus, or what? Or we can start from, for example, invoice, and it will be automatically will be added to Danaus. I don't understand this.
Okay. So you mean the process of creating the catalog? I'm sorry.
Yes. We receive invoice. We want to add items from invoice to our system with this invoice. What will be our steps in this case?
Look, if you get in your hands an invoice and you want to insert this into the system, it means in most cases that you have already created a requisition from the beginning, from the top level. I'm sorry, I didn't mention that because we had the training for the supplies. Do you want to do a process, a case from the beginning as a training? Let me show you then. Okay. In your case, in your libraries, in your catalogs, I think there is only a test catalog. So if we go to the administrator and choose catalogs and groups option, the menu, here we have the list. If we go to the contents, we have the list with all the catalogs imported in your system. Currently, there is only the test catalog. All right. If you need, I don't want to create another test, but in order for you not to have not necessary things in your database. But let's see the test catalog, for example. So here, imagine this is the book from where you find the subsections of the items of the IMPA. So you can create a catalog with a name as per your preferences. I think for the IMPA catalog, you are in discussion with Mr. Nomikos for us to import it.
Yeah, we
Is that-
want to buy the catalog from the Marine Stores Guide.
So for the IMPA catalog, for example, when I get the approval to proceed, I will transfer this catalog in your system. So you don't have to insert the IMPA catalog yourself, of course. But in general, the catalog is inserted from this menu. If you want, for example, to insert a catalog for lubricants, you will insert it through this menu here with a catalog code, the description, and this is very important, the applicable departments. You need to select for which departments, cost or else cost centers, you want this catalog to be available to. So if I make a requisition from the test department, I will be able to see the test catalog, the same code for the provisions and the spares. If I had a department that is not in this list, in the applicable departments list, then the users won't be able to see this specific catalog in order to make a requisition for items that exist in this catalog. The second part is to insert the groups of the catalog. And in these groups, we're going to insert from another menu the items. So this is the library of the catalogs and groups where we create, let's say, the book. In order to fill in the book with items, we need to go to the items menu. Before going to the items menu, is this clear about the catalogs?
Yep.
All right. Now, in the items menu, in order for us to insert something in a catalog that already exists, I can go here. In this drop-down, you can see that there is every catalog or system that exists in your database. So for me, in order to find the test catalog, I can write down test. I will select the test catalog, and in the second drop-down of the groups or else subsystems, you can find the groups of the test catalog. You can select one group, and then in the item reference code, you will need to insert one unique code for the item that you're going to insert, then a short description, and a unit for this item. The units, as you can see, is an extensive list that we have inserted into your system and contains, I believe, most of the units that you're going to need.
Okay, just for clarification, before we will add invoice, we should add all items from this invoice to our catalog, yeah? Is it right?
Yes, so you have in your hands, you have an invoice, okay? This invoice needs to be inserted into the system of the NAOS with a whole case of supply cycle. In order to create a requisition and insert items into this requisition, the items need to exist in a catalog, like this one. Okay. However, if you want, you can insert also undefined items, meaning items that do not exist in any catalog. However, we advise our customers to insert the items into the catalogs, because otherwise the history, the inventory of these orders will not be able to be found. Because if we insert items as undefined, it means that these items cannot be found in our database after this requisition. The requisition itself can be found, but the items in the reports, for example, we won't be able to search when we order specific items, how many times we have ordered it, at which vessels, etc.
Okay, thank you.
All right. So
Can I ask a quick question?
yeah, of
Sorry.
course.
In the case of previous invoice already issued and that we have, how would you propose inserting them? Would you go through the whole
same way.
process?
The same way, the requisition, when we create a new requisition, we can
I mean invoices that were done last month already. So now we're entering the system as a new user, but we have invoices already and invoices that have been paid. So you would like to have them in the system. How would you propose going about putting this whole thing in?
this way, the same way that we insert an invoice that it came today. We just need to change the requisition date. So we're going to insert a
So
previous
you
date.
would put the whole thing as a
Yeah.
process and do the quotations and do the things that have already been done.
Mm-hmm. Yes, because the supply cycle control panel, this is the concept, the point, to have the whole case inserted as the progress anyway of the specific case. Christo, is there any other way to insert an invoice, a cost in accounting?
Yeah, another way, if we're talking purely about invoices and you're not interested about the history of the supply from requisition up to order stage and delivery and so on, and you just need the posting of the relevant invoice in the system, we are talking about accounting only. So this means that the accountants can go inside the system, and there is the option of manually inserting the invoices, let's say from this year's only, right? And there is also the option of, with an Excel that we can provide, of creating opening balances per account. So this means that you won't have historic records of your entries, but you will have like a balance from the previous year, and your accounting team can start putting the invoices from this year onwards. So even the previous month, you can have the invoice in the system, you can keep a record if it has been paid or not. So this has to be done manually, but the opening balance from previous years can be done with an import Excel that we can provide if you want.
That would be quite helpful, actually.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, the system, you can do it as manual entries, but I think also an import Excel, with specific fields that you need to maintain could be found handy.
It's because you need to build some historical bit and have a continuation from like the way we work now to the way we'll be working with the Danao system. So you need to sort of integrate everything that's been done up to now, all the invoices, all the payments, so you can get better history of it as well.
Exactly. The only thing that I think it's hard to do is having the historic data from supply side, from your purchasing system that you currently have. So we're talking about
that would be manually. There is no way to, there's no way to do an similar Excel import or 3U, a sort of bulk import.
In supply, in order to have an invoice, we need to have the whole case inserted.
All right. And I mean, there's no back end from your side to do a bulk import.
No.
No. Okay.
No, unfortunately, in the supplies, because believe me, there is too much information behind. We cannot provide an Excel.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so regarding the items, the import takes place in this screen, and you fill in the catalog and the groups based on the items that you want. Afterwards, you can go ahead and create the requisition in the screen of the control panel. I saw that you have already activated the budgets in the application properties, right? Here, the budgets option, departmental budgets. Is it something that you're interested in? This is supply budgets. It is not the same as the budgeting application. Basically, what this does, the budget option in the supply, keeps a record of the cost of each order based on the budget that you have set for this year. The the amount that is going to be found in the supply budgets can be and will be different from the budgeting application, because in the budgeting application there are more entries and more modifications that you can do. In the supplies budget is only retrieving data from your orders and invoices. That is the reason why. So you need to decide which of the two you are going to use. You can use both, but as I will repeat that the amounts can and probably will be different in these two options, the budget options.
Alex, can we decide right now, or we need
No, you
some
can decide
time?
in the future. I don't know.
No, I'm for my colleagues from Kisamas asking. Colleagues from Kisamas, can we decide right now how we use, or we need time to think?
Dimitris, I suppose the question probably is mostly to you.
I think we need time to think and time to try by ourselves.
Do you know how they work, both of the budgets, or do you need a small presentation of them?
We need a small presentation.
All right. So the supply budgets, as you saw.
I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Do you have a PDF presentation or?
For the budgets, the supply budgets, I'm not sure. It would be preferable to show you, and if you have any questions, to ask me now, so that you can keep track on it.
Okay.
But if you need the steps, I can send you an email about them. But I suggest to show.
It would be great.
Yeah. Okay. No worries. I will do that. All right, so for the supply budget, as you saw, we turn on the switch in the application properties. And then when we're going to create a new requisition, the option of budget, as you can see here, is activated because of the switch. Now, if I go ahead and select a vessel and a department, provisions, let's say, you will see in this drop-down, a budget will appear. This budget is set up by the following screens. First of all, I need to mention that there are 3 screens that we need to do a small setup beforehand. The department budgets, the vessel budget period, and the vessel budgets. These 3 menus. The first one is the vessel budget period. In the vessel budget period, we basically give the system an input on the period type of the budget that our vessels have. For example, for the test vessel, we can set up the period type as calendar or financial. I think the calendar starts from 1st of January and that's on 31st of December. And the financial starts of 1st of April and ends on 31st of March. So you need to decide which type you prefer from this menu for all your vessels. Then we can go to department budgets, where we will insert, if I press fetch all entries, it will give me the budgets that have been set up. So here we set up the budgets for every department. For example, for the department provisions, I have inserted a budget with a description test, and I have provided this budget a code of 0.1. And just the name. Here we just insert the name of the budgets and which department this is related to. Okay. So this is the basic library. Every vessel will be able to retrieve from this list and allocate the amount that we need for every vessel differently if we want to. Now, this alert, the percentage alert, is used for a report. And based on what we have set up here, we can see in this report that we're going to see in a minute, if our budget at the moment exceeds this percentage or not, so that we can have an alert about the money that we have spent up to now. The third menu is the vessel budgets. Here is where we set up the budgets for the vessels. As you can see in this list, we can select the vessel, and here is the year. So I will go to 2024, and as you can see, we have these three vessels. The budget changed, it's just that I have inserted the same budgets for 23 and 24. If I go to 22, there are no budgets. So for 2024, I have inserted the budget provisions, for the department provisions, the budget test. That's why in the drop down, when we created the requisition, there was only one budget. For the test department, I have inserted two budgets, different. And in this column, the allocated, we can insert the amount of the budget. 1 second. All right. So in the column of allocated, we have inserted the allocated amount for the whole year. As you can see, the moment we press save, the amount is separated into four quarters evenly. Okay. Now, let me delete, for example, this budget here in order to show you how it looks like. So if I delete here this budget and press save, let's say that we want to add for the test vessel another budget that we just added in the department budgets. I will press insert, and here there is the list of the budgets that doesn't exist in this specific list behind. So I select the test budget and press OK. As you can see, it is inserted in the right place. I will again add the same amount and press save. The allocated amount, as you can see, is automatically as I said. Now, if I go back to the supply cycle control panel and press new requisition, in the vessel code test vessel and the department test department, here in the drop down, you can see that there are the two budgets that we have set up in the vessel budget screen. Now, let me create this requisition in order to show you what the budget, where you can see this budget. So I went inside the requisition in order to update the items. I will click here the select items, and in this pop-up, as I told you when I showed you the catalogs, we can see the test catalog that we have allocated in this department. I will select the subgroup test group number 1, and inside we can see the items that already exist in this specific subgroup. I will press OK and return. Now I will set some options here, some requested amounts, and I will send this requisition for approval. Because I am admin system and I have provided the admin system the permission of approval for the test vessel, it is automatically approved. Now, if I proceed with a quotation, let me close the screen first. If I proceed with a quotation, date, quotation name, I just select randomly some. 1 minute. Okay, give me 1 second to insert some currency for the user, for the suppliers. Now, let's say that we have received the prices from the suppliers. The budgets can be seen through the long-short evaluation. There is an option here of this B icon. If I double click, I will see the budget that we are currently on. So we can see the budget for the full year, we can see the remaining, and some more information about the budget current period, the current period, how much USD have been given in invoices and POs. Okay, now this is negative because maybe I have created some, because there are open, in the open requisition, there is 2 million that in test cases anyway. But basically from this screen here, I want to show you that the supply budgets can be viewed from here. So basically, if you use the supply budgets, it will allow you, it will help you to have, in every evaluation, to have a preview of what's going on with the amount that you have put in orders and invoices. And also, in the reports, if we go to the financial option, there is the report of budget status. Here, basically, we can see an overview of the cases of the budgets for a specific period of time and for the vessel that we will select. Give it a second. All right. In as of data, we'll insert 31st of December and retrieve. I will select all the budgets. I want information for all the budgets. And here we can see the information of the budgets. Now, in the first one, as you can see, we do not have any information about invoices, open requisitions, or total spend, because probably I haven't done any case regarding this department with this specific budget. In the second, however, you can see that we have, in the first quarter, we have invoices, an amount in invoices and open requisitions, total spend. And this is the percentage that I point out to you. It gets red when it exceeds the percentage that we have set up here. Okay, this 75. Again, this budget, this option, the supply budget, retrieve information only based on the invoices and the purchase orders. Okay, any questions for this?
Yeah, can I ask a question?
Mm-hmm.
So the budget is effectively quarter or year, so the error will be will appear only when we exceed the annual budget. Yep.
When we exceed the annual, yeah.
Okay, so for example, we have like insurance budget, because it's like wise to make an insurance budget annual basis, because it's you buy it for 12 months. So you put the budget, for example, for insurance, you put like, I don't know, $150,000, and then it automatically breaks down for the quarter. But effectively, when you purchase the insurance policy, it will show on the 1 month, like one day you spend 150,000, and it will be red because you exceed the quarter budget, but it's not an issue because you're not exceeding the annual. Am I right?
The red will appear only in the annual.
Okay.
As you can see here, it's not red into the quarter, it's red into the annual.
Okay, I got it. But is it just like information, or it's also a system where you're not allowed to do something?
No, example, it will allow you to do whatever you want. It's just informational.
Okay, so all the budgeting system is just for information. You
Yes.
cannot block anyone to adding for adding new invoices.
Exactly.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
Okay. All right. So let's get back to the link between the supply and the accounting. Now, another thing, except the item budget, first of all, for the item budget allocation, is it clear what we do in these screens? Okay, I suggest we show it one more time. So basically, if you create the ledger cards from the accounting, you are able, either in the invoice or the order, to press item budget allocation in order to allocate a specific item from your requisition to another ledger card from the one that you have already set up in the items ledger. So, as we said, in the items ledger menu, we can select the catalogs that we created to be linked with a specific ledger card through this process here. So, for example, even though I want all the groups of the test catalog in the spares department to be under the ledger test accrual account, I am allowed for the subgroup test group 3 to enter it under a different ledger. So I insert the test cabin source, for example. So everything, when I order from the spares department an item from the test catalog, will be always inserted into the test accrual account, except it is from the subgroup test group 3. All the items from the test group 3 will be under the test cabin source. So, after we have done the setup, in case that our invoice has an item that for some reason we want to insert it into another ledger card, we can go in the invoice, right click, or in the order. That's why I showed you the switches. We can allow the item budget allocation either in the order or the invoice in the accounting tab here, okay? So we can go either in the invoice or the order and open the option again, item budget allocation, and allocate the items accordingly. This case will not allow us because I guess, yeah, the invoice is finalized. Let me unfinalize this invoice and go again in the item budget allocation. And now, as you can see, the option is editable. So even though these items have been inserted automatically in these specific ledger cards, I can change, for example, this item to be inserted in a different one. And on the top, you can see how these ledger cards amounts have been budgeted in the accounting application, okay? Again, one more information. This orange indication shows that it is altered from the original ledger that it was selected for. Now, before leaving, I will press save, and from the supplies part, we are ready. And as you can see now, there is an indication that shows that an item is modified through item budget allocation. And this appears in both order and invoice because both of these are related with the item budget allocation, okay? Sir, that's all for my side. If there are any other questions for the link. All right, so from my side, I will send you an email. I will send to Artemi about the steps for the budgets. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Great.
Okay. let's continue from the order side onwards, just to see how what interactions and interfaces we have with the accounting system from the supply. So, for example, in this case, we have reached the order level, as you see here, with supplier keystone. And what we are going to do, there is an option here called create commitment entries. Right now, if we set up basically the approvals on the quotation level, this will be auto-created in the system automatically. However, there are clients that do not have approvals, so the process is done manually. It's not a mandatory thing to do in any case, but what this will do when you click the create commitment entries, it will basically create an accrual entry, okay, where you basically recognize that I have this expense, but yet I don't have the invoice for that. So you create an accrual in the system of accounting with this projection of the expense and recognition on this period, and you say basically that you expect to receive an invoice with a stated amount. So by clicking this sign on the top, you select here the filing company of your journal entry, the journal date, and the allocation period. So before you mentioned about insurances. If the insurances for any reason are going to pass through the supply cycle, then in this case, the allocation period should be the insurance policy days. So it will be like for P&I, for example, from 20th of February of first year up to 20th of February to the next year. So in this case, in the accounting entry, the period will be updated, and you will be able to see that in reports also, and create also cutoffs. So if, for example, the total amount is 150,000, as you mentioned, in the accounting, you have the option to create cutoff entries and recognize the amount in periods. So you can create one entry per month, let's say, and you recognize the amount that should be recognized per month only. By pressing the OK, the system is creating this accrual entry. And if we go back to the relevant case, here in the accounting info level, there is this icon called this link icon, this paperclip. Yeah, this paperclip icon, yeah. And when we click on that, users with access to the accounting module can see the journal entry that the system has created. So it's basically crediting, in this case, of course, the accounts are dummy because we don't have your ledger cards inside the system, but this is the expense account that was used in the item ledgers setup that Maria showed you before, this one. And this one is supposed to be the accrual account that we're using. Again, I mentioned that this is dummy example, just to see how the entry will fall. And until we have your full chart of accounts, this will not be able to see it, in correct view. And here there is a link that shows that this entry has come from supply module, and this is visible also to other reports in accounting, so you know how to track down this entry. And one good feature of the accounting, and it happens to a lot of applications in Anaos, is that you have a drill down. So if, for example, you are in a report of the accounting and you want to see from which case this accrual entry has arrived, there is a right-click option and click link. And this link will get you back to the relevant supply case. So it's basically a shortcut to the case that we were viewing before. Yeah, this one, sorry. All right, and this was the accrual. Now the accrual can be done, as I said, either manually or by approving the quotation. It's the quotation of the order, right?
It's there is an option for the commitment entry to be done automatically in the properties.
Mm-hmm. In the account section, I think.
Yeah, in the account section.
Yeah, create commitment accrual upon order approval. So when you're approving your order, then on creation of the order, on approval of the order, the commitment entry will be created automatically. Basically, not automatically. It's semi-automatically because it will prompt the user to basically it will open this screen called create commitment entries that I used before, and you will basically create the entry. So it will prompt you to this screen. However, this can be omitted from your side if you don't want to do it per order. So there is another option in the reports of supply that you can create in a batch all accruals for all pending orders of the month, for example. There are a lot of clients that go every month in this reporting section, and they run for the pending orders or deliver not invoiced cases of supply, and they create accruals for these cases and do not do it one by one through the case. I believe this is more useful, if you ask me, because you can do it once per month and you don't involve the user of having to do that every time they create an order, even if it's automatic. And then after the order, the next step is to create delivery to vessel. We can skip that and we can go directly to the create invoice, which will create the delivery as pending, all items that you have ordered as pending, and I go directly to the invoice and click OK. So there will be now this blue, line, this not blue, it's light blue line. It's basically all the items that have been delivered, and then we have the invoice. So here on the invoice side, the supply user have to go here in the update invoice items. They have to check what is the price that has been invoiced from the supplier. In here, I think you can add also.
You can add also here from the plus icon, you can add a line if there are, for example, additional expenses or surcharges in the invoice that you have received in order to match the actual invoice in your case.
And let's say that in this case, the order amount that we have defined is exactly the same. If it's not, we can change the unit price here. And what we go next is on this button, we click the finalize. This is again an action done by the supply user, and click the OK button. After this is done, you see here that there is a prompt to create a journal entry. Again, this is something that can be modified through the application preferences. I have selected here to create accounting entry upon finalization of invoice automatically. If this was not switched, it means that basically the user had to go back to the case and right-click create a journal entry from here. Again, this is an option that you can choose in case it's pretty useful, especially if the supply is also posting, pressing this button and post the accounting entry in the accounting system. Now, if I go back, sorry. Okay, so if we go back now, you see here in the case that the case has been marked as finalized. And as I said, if there is no automatic prompt and you choose that the accounting should basically create the invoices, which is, if you ask us, I think the most functional way is also for the supply to create the posting, because it will save time in terms of, okay, let's put the accounting in a report and see all the invoices that are ready to be posted. So this will take more time for you, but this is a process that each client decides. So the idea is that we go here, we create journal entry. Let me refresh the case and please cancel. Okay, let me go back. Let's go to the other case that is certainly working. So we go here. We have already an entry for that. We have to finalize again, I think, for this. Okay, so we go to the other case that we have and we click the finalize button. Okay, and now it prompts me to create this entry. So here you will see that for each catalog and item that Maria was showing before, so we have test group number 1, unidentified group, and test group number 1, the system is automatically suggesting a ledger card. This is the accounting code that has been used in the accounting itself. So by clicking this button, the user is able to post the entry. Again, I say that if you have, you know, like insurance or other items that need to break down in periods, you can put the whole allocation period that this expense should be recognized in, and then accounting can take care of this with another process from the accounting to allocate this into per month, let's say, with another process. And I click the OK button, and this entry has been created. And we go back to this to the supply cycle just to see this invoice. So if I click that, this is an invoice entry right now. We have credited the test supplier, and we have debited the relevant expense that was indicated, and expense in this case, because in this invoice we had three different expenses. So we have three different expenses. For easy view of the entry, there's an option here in the journal entry called journal sort, which you can see all the expense items that was allocated in this invoice. Another thing that we forget to mention is that, let's go back to the case. In this case, if we had inserted an attachment, so if we go here in the invoice side and click the properties, and then we click the attachments, we can insert attachments. So the attachment that we insert here before the posting of the entry, if we go to post entry afterwards, will be transferred also to the accounting entry. So the accounting will also have the attachment here, and if they want to see the case and, you know, drill down to the source information of how this entry came from and where this entry came from, they can click the link and go back to the supply module and see the whole, you know, history of the actions that the supply module did. So the idea is that if we had created an accrual on the order stage and then we posted the invoice on the invoice stage, the accrual will be reversed in terms of accounting because there is no need to have you know, any estimation of an expense since the actual expense has been posted. I believe this sounds logical to you too. Also, in order to create the accounting entry, what Maria showed you before is that for every department and for every catalog and item under the catalog, you need to have like a default ledger card, or, you know, if there is any exceptions, you can select the correct ledger card to use. But this is only for the expense side. For the supplier side, because when we talk about an invoice, we involve also the supplier, in the address book. So I go to the address book application where we keep and store all the addresses for each supplier. The supplier that we used in this case was Kongsberg. So if we go here and use the Kongsberg, and I select to fetch that, this is the address book of Kongsberg. And here there is an option called accounts. And in this tab, in this radio button, you can see the link of the address book of Kongsberg that supply module sees with the ledger card of Kongsberg that the accounting module uses. This is the link with the accounting module for the suppliers. So this means that for every supplier you use in terms of supply module, you need also to have the link, the relevant ledger card of the supplier. Otherwise, the supplier will not be able to post this invoice to the accounting. Of course, there will be a pop-up message that will indicate that there is no, you know, ledger card for this. So the user will be alerted, but it would be a good activity to, you know, before start using the system, you know, to take the, let's say, the 100 top suppliers that you use, open the accounting ledger cards in the accounting system, and then someone to come here and link these with the address book entries through this button. After that, the accounting entry, as we saw, will flow to the accounting module, and the whole process from the requisition up to invoicing will be stored here. And is there any question for this?
Yes, don't please. We always should have orders before invoices, or we can, for example, have invoices without orders and create journal entries on just invoices.
An invoice cannot exist in the control panel without the order.
Okay.
You have to at least start from a spot order, if I'm not
Exactly.
mistaken, even if you don't put requisition.
You can skip the requisition level and the quotation, of course, and you can create spot orders if you need to from here. So basically, you skip the two first levels and go from the order level and where you start, where you will insert also the prices. Basically, the spot order is used when you already know the supplier from which you're going to order and the price at which you're going to sell the item, that you're going to buy the items. So yeah, basically, you skip the first two levels in order to save time. But let me have a look first. You also need to activate the spot order approvals in order, because you have already activated the quotation approvals. You need to also activate the spot order approvals in order for the spot orders to work. Okay.
Yeah, okay, because sometimes we can receive some invoice we didn't expect, for example. We didn't create some order under this invoice, etc., etc.
So in order for you to work faster, you can come here, create a spot order. Yeah. Always give an order code. And this is what it looks like. Basically, you just go inside, you fill in from the catalogs the items, the quantity order, and the price per unit. And then proceed with the approval from this option and create then the delivery and the invoice.
Okay.
All right.
Now, we'll also show you very quickly this invoice that we've posted with 9 USD in terms of the supplier. Okay, so there is an option here, a module called payments. I'm not quite sure if you have, you have trained that by now. This module works with approvals or with direct payments. So the idea is that if you go with approvals, which is set up right now, you have to go on the screen called Prepare Invoice Payments. If you don't remember the ledger card, so now I have only one ledger card for payable open items, which means suppliers. I can select that and retrieve the outstandings. Let me select the period first from here. So I want all invoices with due date starting from 1st of January 2024. And yes, and because this is an older invoice, because the entry is not validated, because, if you remember from the accounting trainings, this entry is on status entry level, and then we basically need to validate this entry in order to be able to, to approve that in terms of accounting. Now, there is this button here, so for if an invoice is not validated, you can just uncheck that and fetch all the entries. Right now, it is validated, so I have to refresh the screen to get the change, but yeah, it will fetch here all invoices per supplier. So in this case, we have the test supplier. And by just clicking, we select the invoice that we want to pay. This is the invoice entry of 9 USD. And here we select the amount that we want to pay. Okay? And the idea is by clicking that, we select here, because we have the approval payments, we need to select which is the payment type. So this is, let's say, payment. The bank is this one. The company, in this case, was the test vessel, so I will use the same company in terms of the payment. and the invoice was in USD, so let's put the same. So the idea here is that this entry will be prepared for payment because we have the approvals. If we don't have the approvals, then in this case, it will go there, it will create automatically the accounting entry. Okay, so this invoice has now been prepared, and the idea is that someone needs to approve that. So you have to authorize people to approve the payments. Again, I repeat, it's not mandatory. You can go and directly create manual payments, direct payments without this process. The approver will see here the attachment of the invoice. If this was available, there would be a link here, or by clicking the line, there will be like the attachments here, and would select to pay or not pay this invoice. So by clicking the save, this invoice has been approved, and there is another screen called Create Payments from Approvals, where the person that had prepared the entry initially will receive an alert, and they basically need to create this entry. So the idea is that you click the Create button, and this entry will be posted. So if you go here to the journal entry, this is the payment entry. So we credited this bank and we debited the supplier with 9 USD. And if you click here from the accounting entry side, you can see that this invoice that we originally posted of 9 USD with negative amount is basically matched with the final settlement of this invoice. Now, if this was in a different currency, there would be also an option from here to create also exchange differences, or even the system has the option of the system of payments has the option to auto create exchange difference and intercompanies in case you pay from a different company than the original invoice. This fully completes the circle of invoicing and also payment of the invoice in the system. And of course, there are reports in the accounting that you can, run and see if there is any outstandings per supplier. So if, for example, very quickly, I go to the reports of marine accounting, go to the open items, let's choose the first report. All these reports, in the section are for, keeping a track of the outstandings. I want to see the creditors. I want to see base to journal date because I post this today. And let's put in book currency and select the test vessel and run. So there's nothing here because there are no outstandings. There's the option of show all, which we can see again the two. This entry was, I think this is the entry that we see before, which is the invoice. And what I'm going to do is basically I'm going to unmatch the payment from the original invoice. So if I do that and run the report again, here, I think there's something wrong with my retrieval arguments. So it's the test supplier. Yes, it's the test supplier. There's not much anymore. And here we should be able to see the invoice number is this. We cannot see it in the report for some reason, but yeah, this date. All right, so these are all the invoices that we have been posting in the system for, for the testing purposes. You see here, this is the invoice that we had before. This is the payment that we did. So you see them as different lines and not matched, even if the balance is 0. So if you want to keep a track, let's say, for the test vessel, what are my outstanding invoices? So I have one invoice and one payment in this case, which is not matched. So if I go back to the payment and match again, this is a process that's done automatically from the payments module. So I did the matching again. Just a sec. Here, perfect. And go back to the report. I should not see anything right now because it has been paid. So if you want to see this though, you can just click the option apply, and you will see the lines again. There are various reports of open items that you can work on. One other good report is this because it also shows, let's put again the show all in book currency. Okay, so here we have this. This is the line that we care about. This is the invoice we just created with Maria. This is the invoice. We have a different section for the payment, so you can track down the payments and you can see that there is a zero balance here. So from the reports of accounting, you can track down if an invoice has been, fully paid. Or if you want a quick look from the supply case, what you can do is basically go to the supply panel. I'm trying to see if there is another way for doing so. No, I don't think there is another way. No, you basically, for the supply users that are in the call, if you want to see if an invoice has been paid, what some clients do is basically ask for a confirmation from accounting that this invoice has been paid, or what you can do is also run this report that I'm just showing. So you need a view access to this report, and you can search with the level or the suppliers that for the specific vessel, and you can run this report, and this will fetch if an invoice with a specific serial number has been paid or not. Any questions on the full supply accounting cycle? All right. Since there is not a question, do you want to continue with the commercial training and release Maria from the meeting? Hello?
Colleagues from Xamos, if you have no questions, can we continue with commercial model for operators and commercial, or no?
I think that right now we don't have any question about this model.
Okay.
All right, then thank you everyone for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you,
guys,
Maria.
give me a second to call my colleague Alexis to join the call. So can we have like 3 minutes break until he comes in the meeting?